A famous private hospital in the city spent a lot of money to go through the VIP channel and had a comprehensive health checkup done for myself. The doctor said all the results would be available within 2 hours. While waiting for the results in the VIP room of the hospital, I received a friend request on WeChat. When I clicked on the profile picture, it was David's face, looking as if he were basking in the spring breeze. I accepted his friend request. A few minutes later, he sent me a voice message. I clicked to listen, and the conversation inside made my heart sink. "Patton, today you're celebrating your uncle's birthday. If your dad gets mad at you, your uncle will explain it for you." This was David's voice. "Don't worry, Uncle David, he doesn't know." This was my 4-year-old son Patton, his baby voice not completely faded yet. "It's Saturday. Doesn't your dad want to play with you?" David asked again. I asked him to help me build Legos, but he didn't have time to go out. Did Patton do this on purpose just to be able to come out and celebrate his uncle's birthday? Yeah, I lied to him and said it was homework assigned by the teacher. That Lego is really hard. It would take him all day to build. Wow, Patton is really smart to think of such a way. You're so thoughtful. Uncle is very touched. Then there was another smack sound, probably kissing his cheek again. Although I have become accustomed to disappointment, I was still hurt again after listening to this conversation. How could such a childish voice be so indifferent? I remember this morning, just like any other Saturday, I happily went to the old house to pick up Patton for the weekend. Instead, he directly shoved a big box in my arms. "This is the weekend homework assigned by the teacher. It's too difficult. Can Dad help me spell it?" Patton rarely shows weakness in front of me, and at that moment, I thought he was just being cute when he said it's too difficult. So even though I couldn't take him out to play and felt a bit regretful, I was surprisingly flattered by his reliance on me. Mary, standing by, said expressionlessly, "Then you can stay home and help Patton with Legos today while I take him to the office." Although I wanted to say that I could take care of him at home while building Legos, I had gotten used to following Mary's words over the years, so I didn't dare to speak up and could only silently watch them leave. Now I realized that all of this was a lie. My son took advantage of my love for him, using the excuse of needing help with his Lego to keep me at home. Meanwhile, my wife took our son to meet her crush. In this house, I have always been an outsider. After realizing this, I finally woke up. Fortunately, the test results came back, and the doctor said there was nothing seriously wrong with my body, just that I had been lacking rest for a long time and was in a state of fatigue. "You fainted today because you didn't eat lunch, which caused a drop in blood sugar," the doctor advised me. "You must rest well, eat on time, and ensure you have enough nutrition." I nodded repeatedly, thinking to myself that I would never again make the foolish mistake of forgetting to eat lunch because I was busy building Lego. From now on, nothing is more important than my own health. On the way home from the hospital, David sent me a text message. "You know who Mary loves and back now, so if you know what's good for you, get lost early." I scoffed, thinking, does Mary know her idol would say such vulgar things? It seems at this time David is determined to win Mary over. I wonder if he has realized how good Mary is to him after going through some things, or if he has truly fallen in love with her. After all, in the past, David could leave the country without a second thought in the face of Mary's relentless pursuit. On the day he got married abroad, Mary flew overnight to interrupt the wedding, and he was able to refuse her without batting an eye. For him, Mary was never the first choice unless circumstances forced him to see her as the best option. It was Mary's love that made him so fearless. Indeed, since he returned to the country more than a month ago, Mary has been coming home later and later, and her visits home have become fewer and fewer. Her heart has long been absent from this home. In fact, her heart may have always been with him. That's why David dares to provoke me so openly. I didn't reply to his message. I'm tired and don't want to waste a bit of energy on their matters now. I just want to end this wrong marriage as soon as possible. When I was almost home, I found a private dining restaurant, ordered a few dishes, and ate them slowly. I remembered the doctor's words to eat well. By the time I got home, it was already past 7 o'clock. I lay on the sofa watching TV. The sky gradually darkened, and just as I was about to get up to take a shower, I heard some noise coming from the front door. Mary appeared at the door holding Patton. As she walked into the room, she rubbed her forehead and said to me, "Make some hangover soup. I had a few drinks last night, and my stomach feels uncomfortable. I looked up and saw this tall, stunning woman in a rarely seen light blue casual outfit, exuding a rare sense of relaxation. After all, since I graduated and became Mary's assistant, she had always presented herself to me in impeccably tailored, crisp suits. Her serious expression paired with expensive formal wear always created a sense of distance that made it hard to approach her. Even after we got married, aside from her suits, I only saw her in pajamas after she took a shower at night. I rarely saw her in casual clothes, or rather, aside from working and sleeping, I hardly ever saw her in any other context. It dawned on me that since we got married, she had never taken me out for fun. This kind of marital relationship, this kind of marriage, is truly a failure. Seeing me sitting on the sofa without moving, Mary frowned tightly. "Hurry up." If it were before, seeing her impatient expression would have made me instinctively nervous, but today I felt particularly calm there. "There are no ingredients in the fridge." "I can't cook," I replied to her. Mary, who had just sat down, was taken aback, seemingly not expecting me to refuse her. She straightened her body and looked at me. "Are you angry about what happened today?" "Okay," and not before I could finish my sentence, I was interrupted by Patton, who had run into the study after coming in and was now running over. "Why didn't you help me finish the Lego?" He glared at me angrily, holding a broken airplane wing. I looked at him calmly. "Your teacher didn't assign his homework, right?" But Patton pursed his lips and still said defiantly, "But I really want the finished airplane, so you lied to me." I didn't get angry, just said slowly, "You tricked me into helping you with Lego to celebrate your Uncle David's birthday just so I wouldn't disturb you. Who told you to stick to me every weekend? It's no fun being with you." Patton accused. A wave of sadness washed over me, and I bitterly asked, "Is it because it's no fun being with me, or do you just not like me at all?" Patton bit his lip and said nothing. "He's my biological child, with my shadow in his eyes. In the first 6 months after he was born, I often looked at him and smiled foolishly, gently poking his face with my finger, thinking how can my baby be so cute? How can I not love him? But this son is really hard to please." It might be because as soon as the breastfeeding period ended, he was taken back to the old house to be cared for by his grandparents, so he has never been very close to me. Every weekend after I bring him home, I always try various ways to make him happy, but he never appreciates it. I suggest taking him to the amusement park, and he refuses. I say I'll play games with him at home, and he also refuses. I often feel a loss with this son who cannot be pleased no matter what I do. Our most common way of getting along is to quietly stay at home. I prepare fruit and cook for him while he watches cartoons, reads picture books, and plays with building blocks in the study. At such a young age, he is very disciplined, only watching cartoons for 15 minutes a day, never exceeding that by even a minute. He also learns to recognize characters and count by himself. His grandparents have hired tutors for various subjects and teachers for different interest classes, arranging a reasonable study and interest plan for him, so he doesn't need my guidance at all. Sometimes when I see him doing arithmetic problems, I tell him that if he doesn't understand, he can ask his dad, and he replies without looking up, "No need, my math teacher will teach me." Now I understand because he doesn't like me as his father. He is unwilling to stay with me and doesn't want to have any interaction with me. It was the first time I realized that perhaps our father-son bond is inherently weak and some really cannot be forced. It might be the first time I spoke to Patton in such an ungrateful tone, and he was momentarily taken aback, staring blankly at me. Mary pulled her son over and, with a face full of dissatisfaction, accused me, "Isn't it too much to take your anger out on him because of our issues? He's just a 4-year-old child." "I'm not taking it out on him. I'm just stating the facts," I replied. Mary might have sensed that my attitude was different from usual and said, "I told you, you don't need to worry about today's news. We'll handle it." I also mentioned on the phone that I would explain it to you when I got back. I nodded and said lightly, "Okay, you explain. I'm listening." David and I grew up together, and recently he got divorced and returned home. As a friend, I'm worried he might be feeling down, so I wanted to spend more time with him. That's not too much, right? Besides, today is his birthday, and Patton and I just took him to the amusement park for a day. You shouldn't mind that, should you? What about today's news? How do you plan to handle it? I asked. Since we got married, You've never appeared in front of the media, and the outside world doesn't know what George looks like. What I mean is, let's handle today's news quietly. Spend some money to take it off the trending list. After a while, we can release some other entertainment news. Netizens are fickle and will quickly shift their attention, and no one will remember this matter. I have always known that Mary doesn't love me. Over the years, I clung to a stubborn belief, hoping to warm her heart, but I never expected that in her eyes, I was so unimportant. My own wife and son made headlines with another man, being referred to as a family of three, and she felt that I wasn't entitled to any opinion. In fact, I even had to cooperate with her and tacitly accept that David was her husband. Perhaps for her, patiently explaining all this to me was already a favor. If I had any further complaints, it would just mean I was being unreasonable. But I've had enough of that husband who always works hard and complains. Please, little today, I just don't want to be understanding anymore. Actually, there's a better way to handle this. Do you want to hear it? I tilted my head and looked at her. Go ahead, she said with a serious face. Let's get a divorce. I smiled slightly. You can marry David right away. That way, your status as a couple will be solidified. Outsiders want to know that you are in a second marriage, and from then on, you'll be a real family of three, able to appear in front of the media openly. I said very seriously, what do you think? Isn't it much better than your plan? Mary's expression immediately turned cold. Throwing a tantrum has its limits, you know. I have little patience, so I'm not messing around. Divorce is a serious proposal for me. I said just as Mary was about to speak. Patton suddenly interjected loudly, if you get a divorce, then Uncle David can be my dad. Uncle David graduated from an Ivy League school. He knows everything about astronomy and geography, and he can help me with my homework. He deserves to be my dad. I thought to myself, I graduated from a prestigious school back home too. You can't even be bothered to talk to me. How do you know I don't understand astronomy and geography or can't help you with your homework? Forget it. Since I've decided to leave, explaining this is pointless. I smiled and said, well, I also think he is more suitable to be your dad. I wish you both a pleasant time together. George, Mary said darkly, don't go too far. If you keep this up, there will be no room for negotiation. I looked at the person in front of me and couldn't help but doubt myself. The person I'd liked for so many years, I seem to have never truly understood. Perhaps when it comes to David, she loses her principles and reason. Mary, I called her name directly, you have a professional legal team, so leave the divorce agreement to them. Think about it carefully. Divorce is actually the most beneficial choice for you right now, isn't it? This way, you can handle the news well and marry the person you love. Your parents and son also prefer him. Isn't that a win-win? Mary stood up and said, you're upset. I understand you're speaking out of anger. Let's talk again when you come down. With that, she took Patton and left. As for the trending news, it really is as she said, treated with indifference. The trending topics quietly disappeared, and the news about the CF family's trip quickly lost its heat. Throughout the entire process, the official account of the group remained silent, and all parties involved also kept quiet. However, everyone understands that the lack of denial is equivalent to tacit acceptance, meaning that the CF family has already acknowledged the claim of the three-person family. As for this, I no longer have any emotional fluctuations. Now, I am just quietly waiting for Mary's divorce agreement. But 3 days have passed, and there has been no news from her side. When I called, it was always her assistant who answered, speaking in a businesslike tone. Sir President, Mary is currently unavailable to take your call. I am not sure when she will be available. On the 4th day, I still couldn't reach Mary. I sent her a text message, if I don't see the divorce agreement soon, I will hold a press conference in George's name. Soon, her call came in. Let's talk when I get home after work, she said. In the evening, Mary still did not bring back the divorce agreement. She seemed to be convinced that I was throwing a tantrum and said to me in an impatient tone, this matter is already in the past. Stop making a fuss. I really don't understand. I looked up at her. You clearly like David. Why not just divorce and marry him? If I divorce right after he returns to the country, What will people say in our circle? Oh, I suddenly realized. You don't want him to bear the bad reputation of being the one who interfered in someone else's marriage. Before she could speak, I continued, but that's not my concern. I just want a divorce now. His reputation has nothing to do with me. Don't be too willful, Mary said with a bad tone. Once I really agree to the divorce, it will be too late for you to regret it. Mary, let me emphasize again, I am not throwing a tantrum. If I don't see the divorce agreement by 9 o'clock tonight, I will register accounts on major media platforms and publicly declare that I am the legitimate George and David is just the third party who destroyed someone else's family. Okay, she gritted her teeth in anger. I'll call right now and have the lawyer draft the agreement and send it over immediately. But don't regret it then. Hurry up, I urged. Patton is my child. I won't give you custody, she added. Anyway, he doesn't like me. Even if I wanted him, he wouldn't come with me, I said self-deprecatingly. More than 2 hours later, the lawyer indeed brought the agreement. I took a glance and saw that Patton's custody was granted to Mary, and I had visitation rights. What surprised me was that Mary was quite generous towards me. When we got married under the insistence of her parents, we signed a prenuptial agreement stating that the JIS family's assets had nothing to do with me. I had already prepared myself to leave with nothing, but Mary still allocated a considerable amount of property to me. I didn't hesitate and immediately signed my name. She also gave me the wedding apartment we lived in. After signing the agreement, I said to her, "Tomorrow we will go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register, and now you can leave." At the moment the door closed, Mary said with a stern face, "I want to indulge your capriciousness. You have to pay the price for your impulsiveness." Even now, she still thinks that my desire for a divorce is just a tantrum, and she continues to threaten me. If this goes on, there will be no turning back. But she doesn't know that once I've decided to divorce, I never intended to turn back. The next day, we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register. For the next month, Mary and I did not see each other again. On the weekend, I went to pick up Patton as usual. He asked me, "Are you really going to divorce Mom?" I nodded. The joy on his face was hard to hide, and I was no longer sad about his attitude. My son said to me in a tone that felt like charity, "In the future, you can come see me, but not too often. Just once a month is fine. Otherwise, I'm afraid Uncle David will be unhappy." I didn't respond to him. It was what it was. I had done my best for this son. I had come to terms with it and accepted the fact that he didn't love me. A month later, Mary and I met at the Civil Affairs Bureau. After obtaining the divorce certificate, I left without looking back. In the following month, I quickly dealt with the real estate in my hands. I sold all the properties that Mary had given me, including the house we had lived in for 5 years. The night before I left, I called the old house and told Patton that I wanted to see him the next day. After all, once I left this time, it might be a long time before we met again. Patton impatiently said, "Tomorrow Uncle David is taking me swimming." "Okay then, goodbye Patton. Make sure to grow up well," I said and hung up the phone. The next day, I boarded the train. In heading south, my hometown is a small town in the south, and the yard where I lived as a child is still there. Since my parents passed away, it has become desolate. I hired a renovation team to renovate the yard inside and out, planning to plant flowers in the front yard and create a vegetable garden in the backyard. When the yard started to be renovated, I registered an account online to document the process. In the future, I plan to become a self-media blogger, recording my pastoral life, planting flowers and vegetables every day, and making delicious food. This has always been the life I longed for, but in the past, it was impossible to live like this. I could only bury this wish deep in my heart. Now, busy in my own little yard every day, I feel an unprecedented sense of ease and comfort. I initially approached being a blogger with a tryout mentality, not expecting much. To my surprise, the video documenting the entire renovation process alone received over 1 million views and garnered more than 100,000 likes. In just over 3 months, my account has surpassed 10,000 followers, which greatly exceeded my expectations and can be considered a pleasant surprise. The weather is gradually getting colder, and most of the plants in the front yard have lost their leaves, leaving only bare branches. That day, I was in the yard pondering what evergreen plants to add to bring more life to the garden when the phone rang. It was the police calling. "George, your nephew has been found." When I saw that little boy at the police station, I immediately knew he was my nephew. He looks a lot like my sister and also like me. The police station has the DNA information of my sister and brother-in-law from back then, and the police told me they have already compared it. He is indeed their son. I tightly hugged the little boy. He was thin and small, clearly a year older than Dudu, but he didn't seem taller than Dudu. He felt light in my arms, like a poor little kitten. "Dudu, I am your uncle." I buried my face in the little boy's neck and couldn't help but cry like rain. Years ago, my mom was walking on the road holding Dudu when a van suddenly stopped beside her. A person rushed out, snatched the child from my mom's arms, and got into the car, which drove away in an instant. Dudu was directly taken by a human trafficker. My sister and brother-in-law quit their jobs and began searching for the child all over the country. Whenever they had a lead on a child, no matter how far away, they would rush there immediately. Once, I saw a photo provided by an online friend, and the boy in the photo looked very much like Dudu. They drove through a heavy rainstorm, but unfortunately, they got into a car accident along the way, and both of them passed away. Ever since she lost her child, the mother has been filled with guilt, and her health deteriorated rapidly, eventually leaving her bedridden. At that time, Dudu was only 6 months old and had just been weaned. His grandmother suggested several times that she take the child back to the old house to raise him, but I refused each time. However, later on, I had no choice but to entrust Dudu to her care. I returned to my hometown, taking care of my mother while waiting for news about Dudu. Not long after, the police said they had tracked down the group of traffickers from back then. They were trying to take a boat to smuggle themselves overseas. When the police caught up with them, a gunfight broke out, and the boat the traffickers were on somehow exploded. Besides the traffickers, there were also many children who had been abducted and were being prepared to be sold abroad, all of whom perished at the bottom of the sea. The police said your nephew was very likely on that boat. My mother, who had always been very weak, fainted upon hearing the news and passed away just a couple of days later. After taking care of things at home, I locked the gate and headed north alone. When I returned to the old family home, I wanted to take Dudu back, but his grandmother disagreed. Dudu didn't recognize me anymore. When I held him, he cried. At that time, he was the only person in the world with whom I had a blood relation. I loved him and couldn't bear to see him suffer even a little. He wouldn't let me hold him, and I couldn't bring myself to forcefully take him away. Later, as he grew up and developed his own thoughts, he liked me even less. The police said that Dudu was adopted by an elderly scavenger from the countryside. Nearby villagers said that the old man found him by the roadside when he was burning with fever and on the verge of death. The old man took him to a clinic for treatment, where he received injections and medication, and he gradually recovered. Since Dudu was not yet of school age and the old man had little education, he never registered Dudu's household. Over the years, Dudu accompanied the grandma he referred to, going out to collect garbage every day. It was only recently, after the old man passed away, that Dudu was sent to the police station by the village committee, and his identity was finally discovered. I was in tears, choking back my words as I said to the little boy, "Dudu, you've suffered so much. You will definitely have a smooth life from now on." My brother-in-law is an only child, and his parents have also passed away in recent years. Now I'm Dudu's only living relative. After completing the formalities at the police station, I became Dudu's legal guardian. I brought Dudu back home, gave him a bath, and changed him into warm clothes. His little hands were frozen, red, and swollen, and I carefully applied medicine to them. The little boy was very well behaved. Even though he was in pain, he didn't make a sound. "Dudu, your uncle is your only relative, and he will take care of you as you grow up. From now on, this will be your home." The little boy looked up at me, his eyes blinking. "The police uncle said you were my mom's brother. Is that true?" I smiled and said, "Of course. Didn't you notice we look very similar?" Much alike, I picked up a small mirror and pointed at the two of us with our heads together, saying, "Look, don't our eyes look exactly the same?" The little boy nodded, his eyes sparkling. "Do you want to see what your dad looks like?" I asked. The little boy nodded vigorously. I found a family album and flipped through it page by page for him. This is your dad when he was a child. This is Dad and Uncle. This is your dad in college. The little boy listened very attentively. After looking at the album, he suddenly turned to the side and hugged me tightly. Uncle, will you always be with Dudu? Dudu felt very insecure because of his previous experiences and was especially afraid of being abandoned. I squatted in front of him and said seriously, "Yes, Uncle will be with Dudu as he grows up. Even when I grow up, we shouldn't be apart." The little boy said. I smiled and replied, "Okay, we won't be apart even when you grow up." Dudu is a very understanding child, and at such a young age, he is already quite skilled at doing housework. When a little water splashes on the floor, he immediately grabs a cloth to wipe it up. When I cook, he insists on helping me wash the vegetables. After meals, he even rushes to wipe the table. In the past, I made pear syrup candy for Patton, worried he might get cavities, but he always found it unappealing. Now, I make pear syrup candy for Dudu, and the little boy eats it with his eyes squinting in delight. "Uncle, the candy you make is really delicious. It's the best candy in the world." The little boy has a particularly sweet mouth, and his smile can dispel all my unhappiness. I contacted the kindergarten in town to send Dudu to school. He is 5 years old this year and has never been to kindergarten before. On the day I took him, the little boy had tears in his eyes and kept looking back every few steps. When we reached the gate, he suddenly turned around and rushed into my arms like a little cannonball. "Uncle, you will come pick me up today, right?" he pouted, holding back tears, and said with a sniffle. I raised 3 fingers on my right hand. "Uncle swears he will definitely come pick up Dudu in the afternoon, or else he'll be taken away by the big bad wolf." "No, I don't want Uncle to be taken away," the little boy cried. After a long time of comforting, I finally got him into the kindergarten. At noon, the teacher sent me a message saying that Dudu cried during nap time and said he missed his uncle. Before it was even time for school to end in the afternoon, I went to the kindergarten gate early. I didn't want my little boy to wait for even a minute. A week later, Dudu finally got used to going to kindergarten, and our lives gradually returned to normal. That day, Dudu and I were at home making various animal-shaped buns with dough. When Dudu saw a flower on my nose, he laughed so hard he almost fell over. At that moment, the doorbell in the front yard rang. I got up to open the door, and Dudu bounced along behind me. Seeing the 2 people, one big and one small, standing at the door, I was stunned. Mary opened her mouth with that kind of tone that was really annoying. "Have you had enough fun? Hurry up and pack your things and come back with me." I was infuriated and amused by her arrogant demeanor. "Mary, just a reminder, we've been divorced for almost half a year." She glanced at me. "I know you've been avoiding me, just waiting for me to come and take you back. Now that I'm here, your goal is achieved, so stop pretending." Saying this, she pushed me aside without waiting for my response and walked into the yard, looking around with a face full of disdain. "This yard is way too small. Does it even have 50 square meters? Don't you like to plant flowers and plants? Once we go back, we'll move to that villa in Schuin with over 200 square meters of garden, enough for you to mess around with." "Mary!" I shouted loudly. "Can't you understand human language? We are divorced. We have no relationship anymore. Please leave my house immediately." Mary frowned, about to say something when Patton spoke up. At his young age, he showed that familiar expression of dissatisfaction. "Dad, Mom and I can't pick you up. What are you not satisfied with?" Dudu, who had been standing next to me, immediately grabbed my hand nervously when he heard someone call me Dad. I gently patted his head to comfort him. "Who is he?" Patton asked loudly. Dudu trembled at his fierce gaze. My heart ached, and I quickly hugged Dudu. "You scared him," I said unhappily. The usually calm Patton suddenly jumped up like a lit firecracker, rushing over with red eyes, trying to pull Dudu away from my arms. I dodged his move. He persisted. "Who is this little brat? You can't hold him. Let him down." Mary almost couldn't hold him back. I shouted at the 2 of them, "If you don't leave, I'm calling the police." Mary took her son to the gate of the yard and turned back to shout at me, We're staying at that hotel at the corner for just 3 days. You can come find us any time within these 3 days, or else." As soon as they left, I immediately locked the yard gate. "Uncle, who are they?" Dudu asked cautiously. "They're my ex-wife and my son, but I'm already divorced, and my son won't live with me anymore," I patiently explained to him. "Are you going back with that aunt?" "No," I replied, thinking of that mother and son's high and mighty demeanor and Mary's certain tone. I wished I could slap myself a few times. It was all my fault for being too humble before elevating her too high, which made her so confident. She firmly believed that I loved her to the core and would never leave her in this lifetime. Even after the divorce, she still thought I was playing hard to get. Actually, I can't entirely blame Mary for being self-important. Thinking back to my past behavior, I indeed acted as if I were blinded by love. The first time I met Mary was because she helped me resolve an issue. That day, I bought a watermelon at the small supermarket downstairs in the dormitory, and when I cut it open at home, I found it was completely unripe. I took the cut watermelon to confront staff, but I didn't take the receipt when I left, so the staff refused to acknowledge that I bought the watermelon there and told me to quickly take it away so I wouldn't delay his business. I didn't expect to encounter such an unreasonable person and was so anxious that I couldn't speak. Mary, who was waiting to check out nearby, couldn't stand it any longer. She pointed to the computer repair shop across the street and said that it was run by her classmate, and the camera at the entrance could just capture the counter over here. They'll go ask my classmate to check the video and see if this student walked out with a watermelon from here 10 minutes ago. Right as soon as the staff heard this, his attitude changed immediately. "Oh, maybe I remembered it wrong. There are too many customers every day, and I can't possibly remember them all." Later, I successfully exchanged the watermelon. After leaving the supermarket, I heartily thanked Mary. "Is that computer repair shop really run by your classmate? Are you studying computer science?" I took the opportunity to inquire about her situation. "No, I'm in the finance department," she smiled slightly, "but that shop is indeed run by a friend of mine. The camera at the entrance is just for show. It's been broken for a long time. I was just scaring him a bit." Her smile, though faint and lasting only a second, made my heart flutter instantly. Later, I saw her again at a debate competition. That's when I realized she was a prominent figure at the school, admired by many boys for her outstanding looks and excellent grades. I wasn't very talkative myself, so I particularly admired those who were eloquent. At that debate competition, I witnessed her exceptional eloquence and strong logical analysis skills, and my feelings for her gradually changed from simple admiration. From a classmate, I learned that she has someone she likes, her childhood friend David, who is also a popular, handsome guy at school. It is said that after the college entrance examination, Mary filled out a form based on David's choices. However, before graduating from university, David had already had several girlfriends, while Mary has never been in a relationship. Everyone knows she is quietly waiting for him, and I have been quietly watching her all along. After graduating from university, Mary joined her family group at a product launch event. Due to her outstanding appearance, she was referred to by means as the national husband. The year I graduated, David went abroad for further studies with his foreign girlfriend. I turned down an offer from another well-known company and immediately submitted my resume to the SE group. Knowing that it was impossible with her, I was still blinded by love and just wanted to quietly be by her side. I became her assistant, and being able to be close to her every day was already enough for me. The day before David got married abroad, Mary flew over to elope but returned defeated and drunk. That day, I wanted to make her a hangover soup, but she knocked me down onto the bed, and I didn't push her away. A month later, she found out she was pregnant and said she was willing to marry me. I knew she chose to marry me out of despair because of David's wedding, but I couldn't help but feel ecstatic. She is my goddess. How could I bear to refuse? After getting married, I worked hard to warm Mary's heart, but I failed. No matter how exhausted I became, she remained indifferent. I didn't pay attention to what Mary said about waiting for me for 3 days. She even expected me to take the initiative to reconcile. She can never treat me as an equal in this lifetime, and that's not the kind of partnership I want. On the third night, this mother and son appeared at my doorstep again. Patton, with a serious face, said, "Mom came to pick you up herself. What else do you want?" I squatted in front of him and calmly explained, I've already divorced her. We can't live together anymore. Besides, I remember you wanted a dad who wasn't David, right? Patton pouted and said, I don't like him anymore. I looked at Mary. You're not with David? I thought you two were already married. Can we talk? Mary asked. I nodded and brought them inside. It wasn't a solution to keep this stalemate going. It was indeed time to clarify things. They sat down on the sofa, and I brought them 2 cups of water. Mary looked around the room and said gently, I spoke without thinking last time. That was my fault. Actually, your place is quite nice. You always manage to make wherever you live feel cozy. Without your home, it feels like suddenly losing warmth. It has become cold and desolate, and I don't even like going home anymore. I didn't want to hear that and went straight to the point. You haven't remarried after the divorce? I did indeed spend time with David. Perhaps because we had never interacted as lovers before, it was only when we truly fell in love that I realized we were not suitable for each other. Just in terms of our living habits, we were very different. I have a regular routine, going to bed early and waking up early, while he likes to stay up late, partying at bars all night and sleeping during the day. He is very popular and always has friends around him. Whenever we had a disagreement, his friends would come one by one to question me and back him up. I felt exhausted living with him. It drained me every day. He also had no patience with Patton and would yell at him over trivial matters. We broke up after just over 3 months of dating. George, I was slow to realize it before, but actually, we're the most suitable for each other. I laughed. No, we are not suitable. We got along well before only because I was always accommodating you, and you made no effort, so it felt comfortable and easy. But I, who was always giving, would also feel tired. Mary lowered her head and stopped talking. At that moment, I took a pear-flavored lollipop from the fridge and handed it to Patton. Here, this is for you. It's made by Uncle. It's really delicious. Patton, like an irritable little calf. Suddenly, I stood up and knocked the lollipop out of Duda's hand. You don't need to please me if I want to eat it. Dad will make me a lot. I walked over, picked up the lollipop from the ground, and handed it back to Dudu. If brother doesn't like it, then we won't give it to him. Patton pouted, looking aggrieved. Dad, I didn't mean to knock your candy down. I'm sorry. Before, I didn't like this candy, did you? You even threw the candy I made into the trash. I interrupted him, but brother likes it very much, and in the future, I will only make it for him. Patton's tears fell. Dad, don't you want me any more? Why are you making candy for him? George, I haven't asked all this time, who is this child? Mary spoke up. I thought he was a neighbor's child, but I just saw that there are children's slippers at home. Is he a relative child? He is Dudu, my sister's child. You mean the child that went missing before? Yes, the police found him. I am his only relative, and from now on, he will live with me. Mary fell silent for a while, as if she had made a decision. You can take Duda back to the JIS family, and we will raise the 2 children together from now on. I don't want to. Patton shouted at us. I don't want him to go to our house. Dudu trembled in fear and hid behind me. I held Dudu's small hand, giving him a sense of security. Turning back, I looked at the mother and son and said firmly, Dudu has his own home. He doesn't need others to give him a place to stay like a charity. George, that's not what I mean. Mary said urgently. You can't just take one child and live here for the rest of your life, can you? Why not? This is the place I grew up, and it's my home, and it's Duda's home too. You just saw your son doesn't want Duda to go to your house. I won't let Duda live under someone else's roof, depending on others for his life. No one dares to give him a hard time. Mary said decisively, then softened her tone. George, both Patton and I need you. I rubbed my forehead. Mary, you treated me coldly during our marriage, openly flirted with David, and even tacitly acknowledged him as George in front of the media. After being with him for a few months and finding it unsuitable, you come back to me acting all high and mighty as if you were giving me a way out. I really want to know how you could be so shameless. Didn't you listen to what I said? I don't want to go back to being a nanny for you and your son. You say you and your son need me? Sorry, I don't need you. You being George is my honor, and when you come to me to reconcile, I should be grateful and go back with you? To be honest, just thinking about those years of living like I was being abused makes me want to travel back in time and slap myself awake. I had never said such harsh words to Mary before, and I suppose this was the first time she had been so ruthlessly criticized. Her face turned pale, and she lowered her head in silence for a long time. Just when I thought she would get angry and leave, she spoke up using a pleading tone I had never seen before. I will change. I didn't react at first. George, in the past, I was dull and didn't realize my feelings for you. You're right, I was too arrogant, taking advantage of your love for me, bullying and neglecting you. But I'm sure I want to reconcile with you, and it's not because I want you to continue taking care of us. During the time you were gone, I realized how crazy I was to miss you. I think of you at work, I think of you while eating, and I think of you when I sleep. You fill my mind. I can't calm down thinking of you. If this isn't love, then what is? I was wrong before and disappointed you. I hope you can give me a chance to change. I shook my head without hesitation. No, I want to go back. But Mary showed no signs of wavering. George, I will show you my sincerity. The next day, Mary moved into the house across the street. She bought that 2-story building. From then on, every winter and summer vacation, Mary would bring Patton to stay here, but I only allowed Patton to come to my home. After all, he is my child. I didn't blame him too much for the past because he was young and hadn't formed his own values yet. I can't entirely blame him for how his grandparents spoke of me in front of him, which led him to dislike me. But because I've been hurt before, I couldn't love him as unreservedly as I used to. Now, I only feel responsibility and obligation towards him. I am his father, and if he needs me, I will provide him with the care and companionship he requires, and nothing more. I have also directly told him I may never be able to love you like other fathers love their children. Patton smiled with understanding and said, I understand, Dad loved me very much before, but I squandered it all. It's my fault for not cherishing it. This is all my doing. As long as Dad doesn't kick me out, I'm very satisfied. On his 6th birthday, I bought him a cake and hugged him. It's so nice. Dad finally hugged me, he said with tears in his eyes. Compared to Patton, I was not so lenient with Mary. I firmly refused to let her step into my house again. Every time Patton played or ate at my place, she would quietly wait outside the gate. When Patton was done playing and ready to leave, she would silently take the child and leave. Over time, however, my resentment towards her gradually faded. I once calmly talked to her. I now see you as no different from a stranger. I've come to realize that I can't blame you entirely for the past. It was my own one-sided devotion to you, and you didn't have to respond. Do you understand? Understand, Mary? I no longer love you. Your waiting is meaningless. Just give up. Mary smiled and understood. Of course, I can see that you no longer love me because I have seen how you loved me before. But now I love you, and I can't control my feelings. Just being able to see you is enough for me. Waiting for you has become a part of my life. I don't even expect you to look back. From now on, I'll wait for my own things, and you can go on with yours. No need to worry about me. Mary, wait. Ed silently as she said, never disturbing me. Every time she brought Patton over, she would greet me with a smile like an ordinary neighbor, and that was all until Dudu turned 8. I fell in love after that. During the holidays, Patton would come over alone, and his mother never accompanied him again. Patton is now much closer to me than before. He smiled and said, My mom doesn't dare to come anymore. She said she can't bear to see you standing with other women, afraid she might act impulsively and hurt that girl. She has to hold back. She can't disrupt your life. When Dee was 9 years old, I got married. At the wedding, Patton gave me a gift, saying it was from his mom. When I opened it, it was an invitation for a luxurious couple's trip to the Maldives from a famous travel agency. My mom said, This is your wedding gift, Patton said with a smile. I remembered that before I married Mary, she had also been briefly tender with me. She asked where I wanted to go for our honeymoon, and I said the Maldives. That's so out of style, isn't it? A bit tacky, she poked my nose. Tacky or not, I just want to go. Okay, she rarely spoke with such a spoiled tone, but the day before we were supposed to leave, she received a call from David, who was crying very sadly on the other end. Without a word, she took a flight that night to find him. Just like that, our honeymoon trip was ruined. This became a regret deep in my heart. At this moment, looking at the 2 exquisite invitation cards in my hand, I smiled, closed the lid, and handed the gift box back to Patton. Give it back to your mom, I don't need it anymore. Later, I found that regrets can be compensated for on my own. Back in the year of my divorce, while renovating my small courtyard, I took a week off to go to the Maldives. There, I had a great time alone for a few days and returned satisfied. Since then, there have been no more regrets in my heart. The person standing next to me, my current wife, gently asked me, "Where do you want to go for a honeymoon?" I said, "I want to go skiing in the Northeast." She smiled softly, "Okay, I'll go with you.